there are Christmas carols, to be had other than ours. And I think what we've always tried to do is to do one for our community, for Orange County. I would say what's different about ours, aside from the fact that we've worked on it for a long time and I hope refined it, is the music that we bring to it, the children we bring to it, and the accessibility. Hi, everybody. I'm Jerry Patch. I'm the resident dramaturg at South Coast Preparatory and also the adapter of A Christmas Carol. It's a show that has been running for 41 years, so we must be doing something right. And if you haven't seen it, by all means, come and check us out this year. It's certainly worth your time and a great way to celebrate the holidays. And if you have seen it, come on back. We miss you.
I hope you'll come and join us for the world premiere of a brand new solo musical called Mrs. Christmas. It's a great way to celebrate the season and to celebrate your family. Its premiere is at the Aurora Theater in Long Beach, and it starts on December 5th and goes through December 21st. It's suitable for all ages, although teens and older are probably going to enjoy it more than young kids. So please do come. It's a terrific production. I think you're going to have a lot of fun and you're going to feel something warm in your heart. What is Mrs. Christmas about? The main theme of Mrs. Christmas is the relationship between parents and children. It's articulated primarily as a mother-daughter story, although it occurs to me that it could also be a mother-son story. The characters discussed in the play are all women. Men are almost never mentioned in the whole play, which is a surprise to me. I didn't do that on purpose. I just realized it after the fact. So there are a lot of my female relatives in the play, and their contributions to my emotional life are very, very clear in the play. So it's a play about parents and children, how that relationship can be beautiful, how it can be destructive, and how we strive for resolution in our family relationships.
Tell us the story arc for this play.
Mrs. Christmas seems like a woman just sharing some memories of her mother, including music that her mother loved and a story about her mother and some of her mother's Christmas crafts. That's what it looks like. However, while she is talking to us, another story is happening, and that is the conflict and ultimately the resolution between the singer and the accompanist. That's the tension in the play. And it's palpable and very funny for most of the play, and then gets very tender at the end.
Tell us more about the actor who brings this play to life for the SoCal production.
We had a very rigorous audition process for Mrs. Christmas. We asked the actresses to sing and to read some monologues because the play is basically one long monologue. And we had fantastic actors that came and read for the roles. We ended up casting Linda Libby for most of the production, and then Michelle Mehring is the understudy, but she will also have some guaranteed performances. They're both terrific actors. They're different from each other, significantly different from each other, which means it will be a very different experience each time one does the show and then the other one does it. So I'm excited to see how the play feels and looks in the hands of these two very talented singing actors. They are awesome people, and there's such a warmth in both of them, and that is going to make it perfect for the audience, I hope.
Tell us about the producer-director of this play and how she has helped bring your play to life.
I've known Carol Foreman for a long time, many decades actually, and I've been a fan all that time of her acting and her directing, and I've wanted to work with her, but this is our very first time to be able to do this. And we started talking about Mrs. Christmas 4 or 5 years ago, and it's taken us a while to get all the pieces in place. So we're really happy that we're finally able to work together for the first time and to work on a piece that means a great deal to us. Carol's an incredible performer, a wonderful director, and she brings such intelligence and heart to all of her projects, whether she's acting or directing. So I'm thrilled to be working with her. She's super sensitive to the things that I care about, and she's directed a beautiful, beautiful production.
Why should viewers attend the production of Mrs. Christmas?
This production of Mrs. Christmas is the world premiere in Long Beach at the Aurora Theater throughout December. And audiences should come see this because it's a beautiful production. There's so much heart that was put into it, and the actor is fantastic. The accompanist is fantastic. And they each have an understudy who are also great. So they'll have the opportunity to see it not once, but twice. And it's a new addition to the Christmas canon. It's not at all like A Christmas Carol or other Christmas shows you might see. This one is very different, very personal, and will put you in the Christmas spirit. My solo musical, Mrs. Christmas, is a really fun new way to celebrate and remember the Christmas holiday. So I hope you'll come and bring your family and have a very, very good time and think a little bit about your family and what they mean to you, because that's what the play is about, the real Christmas spirit.
I think that COVID-19 notwithstanding, we had reached in that almost 2-year period of time, it's hard to believe, we had reached in that at the end of that 2-year period of time, an end to an era that had kind of come over us like a little bit of a cloud that had kind of shut out some sun. And I think people had we started to notice that there was a bit of a decline our people would characterize it at the South Coast Repertory. I'm not putting words in their mouth, I don't think, but as a difference in the way people were accessing entertainment. They weren't necessarily purchasing a season of something. They would maybe buy a single ticket to a play that they thought was nice or that they might enjoy. And one of the things that they did seem to regularly enjoy was Christmas Carol. And I think that this was an opportunity. We knew if we brought this back and gave them their opportunity to come to the theater and realize the joy of sitting in that audience with some fellow theater goers, even masked, and enjoying a play that they knew from when they walked through the door, that they were going to go on a journey that was going to give them joy and a sense of wonder about what good things might lay ahead in this new year, hopefully post-COVID. But at any rate, and I think that what made me want to do it was the opportunity to bring people back to the theater for an evening of theater. And theater is a special thing. It's not theater ER, not the building, because it's just a building. It's a pretty building, but without something going on that stage, which is theatrical, which engages the audience in the storytelling. So we're doing 80 to 90% of the storytelling, the physical heavy lifting, but there's a good 15, maybe even 20%, some say 10, but there's a measurable percentage of that storytelling which the audience is doing with us. And you're part of that storytelling. And you can only be aware of that really sensory as an actor on stage when there are children in the audience. And then they just get so wrapped up, and the parents get so wrapped up in those children seeing it and enjoying it, that over the years, they've come back time and time again, bringing those kids as they grow up until those kids have grown and are bringing their own kids. And so I think that I wanted to be part of that, to bring people back to a theater that I started when I was a teenager. I mean, literally, I was 19 years old. This is approaching 60 years in this county. And we have been the theater that has endeavored to provide that theater service to this county and to Orange County theater goers, not because we all wanted to be the stars, because we weren't always the stars, or that we wanted to own the county, no, or that because we wanted to make tons of money, because theater is not notorious for being a way to great economic wealth. You know, it's really done by people who just love to do it, and seen by people who, if they haven't found the love, they're going to find it again, and start, I would say, by coming to Christmas Carol, because it has all those things that if you've been before, you remember loving. And if you haven't been, you will find again in this production of Christmas Carol. I'm told that is very true. And I feel that if you think you can trust me for almost six decades of doing this, I think I know it when I feel it. And I feel it about this show. It has that ability to bring you out of these doldrums and point you in the direction of some hopeful thoughts and feelings for the new year. So we're open. Come see us. Hello, Richard Doyle, founding member SCR. And if you want to learn more about what's going on there, then watch this video and tell your friends about it too. And tell your friends about SCR. Come see us. I could tell you, as even a 10-year-old child, watching that, I still remember that. And I didn't have very many visual theater experiences to relate to at the time, because there was no TV in Italy at that time. This was 1952, something like that. And so most of the theater I heard was on recorded albums or plays that I read that my brother left around that I looked at. And so it stuck with me, the performance, even though it was done by young, high school students. My brother, was quite good as Scrooge, but he was still a 17, 18-year-old kid. But it stuck with me, that transformation that Scrooge went through, and all the ghosts coming to impact on him, telling him that the good things that had happened in his life. And I thought, that's an amazing kind of story. And I was a storyteller, and I would relate the story. I would take over if my mother and father had guests over to our house, and they allowed me to stay up. I would often, pigeonhole some of the gathered guests with my storytelling, which oftentimes left reality behind, and I had to be corrected by my mother that what I was saying was, a little bit perhaps not supported by facts. And of course, I would answer that by saying, well, people would ask me, well, you don't seem old enough to have done those things, Ricky. And I landed on the idea that, well, these things happened to me when I was older. And I seem to think that I answered the questions. But anyway, I loved telling stories, and I latched onto that story from Christmas Carol. My mother said I would retell it oftentimes using other people as the characters in the story. And I think that I carried that forward. And when we got into San Francisco and I got to work with these professional actors, I also got to understand the idea of characterization and people playing different roles. And in the Christmas Carol, it was the idea that the core company, made up of many gifted character actors, we were going to play several different roles. And even though I wasn't playing Scrooge, I liked the idea of playing one character, say, playing Fred or playing one of the solicitors or playing a ghost and then putting on a different costume or some makeup or maybe different, beards and mustaches and sideburns and what have you. That would give me a chance to tell the story from many different ways. And I think audiences came to appreciate that form of storytelling. And in fact, I actually think that play under John David Keller's direction, the early direction, and with Jerry's adaptation and Hal's portrayal, as it grew over the years, it began to attract people to the theater in general. I mean, not just theater SCR, but theater RE. The idea, this is kind of fun. This is like going to a storyteller session. And I oftentimes, when I talk to young actors, I say, you're part of a very, very old trade. And they always think I'm referring to, the Greco-Roman theater or something of that nature. And I said, no, this goes back to early man, when that one outcast in the tribe who wasn't a very good hunter and hid behind the rocks and trees would come out after the kill was made and everyone was sitting around the fire with full bellies, having devoured some of the woolly mammoth. He would come out and retell the events of the hunt around the fire, and he became the tribe storyteller, which may have saved his life in the long run because he couldn't do what other people did, and he might not have been afforded any of the food, but he earned it by telling stories. And I tell them, that's what you are, that very old tradition of telling stories about the lives of the people who are seated around that fire. And that's what we do. And that's, I think, the attraction of Christmas Carol is that it came to relate to the audience gathered there, stories about them as much as about the characters in the play. And I think they sit there pulling for the eventual epiphany that Scrooge has, that I think when they jump to their feet, not taking anything away from the enjoyment that they're having, I think that they are applauding themselves in as much as anything, saying, yeah, we're good people at heart. There's goodness here. There's more good than evil, and good triumphs, at least tonight. And I think that's what attracts me to being part of it. I can say what I've just described to you about the experience of the play for the audience goes triple this year because of the COVID thing. And because people have been so encumbered by all the COVID restrictions in place and the protocols, that the idea that even though they have to come to the theater and be vaccinated or have proof that they are currently immune from any virus infection, that even though they have to wear the masks, there is a release that the show provides. The experience as audience going through this evening, going through Scrooge's journey and being engaged with the cast as they carry Scrooge along through this journey to his epiphany. That feeling is so important to us as a culture. And if I could say anything to people that watch your Zoom or that hear what we're doing here today, I would say, we're open now. So come and see us and experience theater and experience this particular piece of theater, because really it, as much as anything we do, invites you to join in, because audience is really a part of live theater, more than in a movie theater. Not to take anything away from motion pictures or television. I've been part of that entertainment industry as well. But the live theater is there's a synergy that exists between the audience and the actors on stage. We work together to bring all of us to that moment at the end that hopefully you are just so taken with what you have just seen and so reassured that life is going to be better and as good as it is and can get better if we just join together as we are tonight in the theater and take in the story and really enjoy what it has to offer and share it with all the audience around you. I think there's an interesting story that's told about a study that was done about theater audiences, and that there is a point in the evening in the theater when people are engaged and really drawn in to the experience of the theater and reaching the point where the story reaches its peak, where the audience is so engaged that they become almost one with what they're watching. And at that point, they test the pulses of the audience, and they all have, as one organism, kind of the same heart rate. So people get drawn in so much so that they become one. And now that can't be expected for all productions. And I certainly have been in shows where people had differing senses of how to relate to what they were seeing, and how relevant what they're seeing was to their own personal lives. And thank you for enduring those performances. We know there are going to be some of those, but Christmas Carol is not one of them. It's one you will join in. I can almost promise you that. And that's why I like to be engaged in Christmas Carol. And besides, in all honesty, the challenge of undertaking this monumental journey that this man has to go through, and though I have watched it as other characters, I have not portrayed that character. And just to put in the back of your psyche that the performance that they saw of the earlier version of this production, that was a performance that was developed over 40 years of performance in front of different audiences, with a lot of input from different casts, some fine actors having played the roles, and also many different changes that Jerry very graciously stepped in and made little tweaks here and there. The performance that you saw just recently, Buell, that performance was achieved in one rehearsal period over 3 or 4 weeks with a relatively new cast, including a new me. But everything was there. Everything was planted in there for us because we had all been part of it. Many of us, only a few had seen it or been part of it, but many of us had been part of that experience, including the audience. And it was so reassuring to step out there and go through the first few scenes and realize, oh, it's still there. It's still working. It's still got the audience engaged. And that was very reassuring. And it just made us all feel really good that the audience was hearing it and enjoying it once again and being back in the theater again. That's such a great feeling. I think that, and again, John David Keller's production, Hal Landon's performance, Jerry Patch's adaptation, and all the shows that were done, many of which I was part of, they were all great shows. But the great thing about theater, it's an interpretive art. And so we were able to join that adaptation for the first time. Hisa and I, Hisa Takakua, who was the director, and Hisa and I had a chance last year to do the recorded novella of Christmas Carol, which of course the novella is it's a book, and that is not a play, and it has to be made into a play, and that's what Jerry did. And so we visited the novella, and then I recorded the novella as a voiceover, a placekeeper, essentially, for our audiences, because we weren't going to have a live show last year. So Hisa and I worked on that. She became what we refer to in the voiceover world as a booth director in her home, sitting like you are, Buell, at a screen. And I became a voiceover talent, which I am, sitting at my home system. You can't see it here, but I have a recording system here in my home. And I recorded that novella much as Charles Dickens would have done when he read it for a Victorian audience back in the 1840s. And we gave that to our subscribers. And that opportunity Heath and I had to do that as a team gave us a kind of teamwork relationship. And in that relationship, we discussed what we both wanted from this production to be more prominent than what we had seen in previous incarnations of the show. And basically what that was, we wanted all of those vignettes, if you will, with all the ghosts to be as able to move Scrooge back into those moments and be as affecting to him and the audience as we could make them dramatically without slowing down the pace of the show, keeping the show moving, but showing that we were engaged in storytelling primarily. And this is part of the story. So things like the scene with Marley. The scene with Marley is not so much about Marley coming through the door and being a very scary figure, which he has always been. Going back to Don Took's Marley, who was very scary. But now he is Scrooge's friend and partner, going way back to Fezziwigs. And now he appears as a spirit, warning Scrooge if he doesn't change. And we have to know that Scrooge is deeply affected by this because of their friendship, because he's seeing him and he needs for Marley to help him, tell him what to do, tell him what he's doing. And Marley leaves. He only tells him that he has an opportunity to change what will come. And then when we go to the Ghost of Past, who is Jennifer Parsons, a wonderful actress, and my wife, who also happens to be here in the apartment, so I have to be careful what I say about her. And anyway, she comes and she shows me all these things, reminds me about where he was born in the country, reminds me about his school that he went to and his school chums and how they went home for Christmas and he could not. And some of the dark times in his life when he was a child, and dark times but that were made lighter when Fan shows up and says he gets to come home because Fan, his wonderful, kind and cheerful sister, a really bright spot in his life, he'd almost forgotten about her. He put that out of his mind as if it never existed. But it's because of her that he even exists, really, because she puts that red scarf around his neck and drags him off back home again for Christmas. A red scarf, which we wanted to be sure reappeared in the story so that the audience made the connection. Oh, this is one of the driving forces that brings him back. We wanted them to know the story behind the story, which is really what drives any play. And sometimes we get to need so much to get to what the good parts are when Scrooge comes back to us as a human being again, that sometimes we skip over the things that really brought him there. And so that's what Heath and I did in this production, was to focus on those moments, his understanding of Fred's life now, his nephew, and his understanding of what he missed about his life that he brought forward from Fezziwigs, because Fezziwigs was such a nurturing person. Even though Scrooge didn't have a nurturing father, he had many nurturing people in his life. His Fan, his Fezziwig, who made him feel like a human being and made him feel like he wanted to be part of what Fezziwig was doing. And he forgot that he had someone whom he was basically mentoring. It was his clerk, Bob Cratchit, who he had been kicking around for years. And suddenly in that scene with Past, he realizes, I don't know why, but I feel like I would like to say something to my clerk, Bob Cratchit. And he doesn't even know what he's going to say. He just is somehow, he's been carried away by this experience of seeing Fezziwig again. So we wanted to invest in those moments as we went along so that we got to the end. The audience not only enjoyed the end, but now in the show, when they see that red scarf come out, I hear people in the audience say, oh, it's the red scarf. It's the red scarf again. It's his red scarf. And I love that idea in storytelling. It sends chills up my spine when I think about it. And then, of course, wonderful Hal. was able to do that great somersault on the bed and grab his hat. And of course, I am quite a bit further along than Hal was when he started, so I have to demur to him on that particular physical attribute. But we needed something to put a cap on the end of that bedroom wake-up scene, and we came up with the idea of Scrooge puts his hat back in the armoire, not thinking, and goes ahead and gets dressed. And then the hat reappears, and I don't want to give away anything to our viewers who haven't seen it, but the hat reappears with an interesting and uplifting kind of new sentiment around the hat that he says he never goes anywhere without his hat. And he pops it on his head, and off he goes on his Christmas morning epiphany, as he meets all the people that he engaged with in a kind of a Frank Capra movie moment, as he meets all these people who actually were people he had seen on the street before, but somehow they've come back now as ghosts in his dreams. But he sees them again as who they were in his real life. And I love that moment too, because it's a bit of storytelling as well, until he finally ends up back with his nephew in that scene at Fred's, which is a scene that has always filled my heart with a lot of joy. And I think, judging from how our audiences are responding to it, it still has that effect on people. And I'm very glad for that. I am supported by a wonderful cast of people. I won't go into naming them all, but they all know that I respect them, highly respect them. They were very respectful of me and very supportive of me. And I can tell you that something like this doesn't happen in a void. You need an ensemble of people. And these are definite ensemble players. They support the truth of every character in the show. And there is no character in the story that needs the supportive truth of all his fellow ensemble members as Ebenezer Scrooge. And they are there for me every moment of this performance. I stand on stage and look around and see it in their eyes. Believe me, you are going to see an ensemble performance that I think is very moving. I think that it is unique, I have found, because it is the embodiment of a resident professional theater. And I mean that because we all grew up here. I mean, I literally grew up here. From my teenage years, I raised my families here. My son and his grandson, my daughter and her 3 grandchildren. My mother and father lived here. Actually, they lived in Lakewood, but they came here to see the theater. I have so many friends. All my doctors are here. All the restaurants that I enjoy are all here. And the people who live in this county and who inhabit the various educational institutions, UCI notwithstanding, all these people who are here who have supported the theater, they are part of the SCR community. And if you are a writer who is seeking to find a place to have your text, your work of theatrical literature seen and enjoyed and engaged with by a very smart, engaged audience, SCR is a great place to do it. And SCR has always been, from my very earliest memories, a play about, or rather a theater about the plays, about the text, about the writers. All of our new plays, all of the plays that we do, new or old, chestnuts, or plays that are classical plays, all of them, the focus has always been on the text. Just veering away from SCR for a second, speaking about text, I became, about a decade ago, actually several decades ago, I became a voice talent. And in the world of voices, you don't have scenic support. You don't have other actors around helping you unless you're doing an animated series, which I've done. But a lot of the narrations that I have done, including I narrate for the Pageant of the Masters. I've been there for about 10 years. All of those narration venues or all those narration jobs for documentary films and what have you, they all rely on the text, and it's all in the words. The story is in the words, and in the way the words are punctuated and the way the sentences are put together, and working directly with the writer, you work to develop that story from just the words. And I became so aware as I became a voice talent, more so than I had ever been, how important text is. And when you come to the theater, you're going to hear stories. You're going to hear plays that maybe you might have seen somewhere else and not noticed before. That, oh, I see now what that's about. And at SCR, you will always see and hear the stories told very clearly and succinctly by very gifted professional artists. And that's the other thing that I love about SCR, is that even back in the day when we actually weren't paid, even though some of us were professionals, we still worked at SCR because we longed for that stage experience where the text and the story was primary, not the star that was saying the words, or how celebrated the person was that was engaged in the play, or how famous the play was, but it was about the story within the play. And we were all trained to tell those stories. I became even more trained to tell stories as a voice talent. And when we came to this production of Christmas Carol, Hisa and I wanted very much to be sure we focused on those central issues within those individual stories within the larger tale of A Christmas Carol. And I think when you come to SCR, not only in Christmas Carol, but when you come to SCR as a patron or as a theater goer to see whatever we're doing, you're going to hear the story, and you're going to see that story told in all of its facets. And I love that about a professional theater. And by facets, I mean, you see the story told in the costumes, in the lighting, in the scenic development, in the soundscapes that people don't even realize sometimes, that the soundscape sometimes begins when you walk into the theater. You're not even aware it's going on, but it's being planted in there. All these little tidbits about the story you're about to see unfold. And that's a professional rep theater. And that's been in SCR's mind from the beginning, even though, in all honesty, from the beginning, we didn't have the funds or the wherewithal to do all the things that we now can do. But even in the beginning, we had it in our minds to focus on doing them. And I think that even at the beginning, that's what drew people to go to a little 80-seat theater in an old marine swap shop and buy a ticket just to see what this South Coast repertory thing was about. And lo and behold, it's about A Christmas Carol. Come and see it. Hello, Richard Doyle, SCR founding member since the early days of SCR. And I just wanted to say to you, thank you if you have been a patron of SCR or a theater goer at SCR. And if you hadn't been back in a long while, please come back. We are open, and we would like you to come and see us. And if you'd like to, you can come and see The Christmas Carol, although I wouldn't recommend it. Whenever anyone says Christmas to me, I say, bah, come back. Now, please come see us and have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Take care.
The show started at the holidays, and then it was running in the spring, so it was just kind of a generic party, but it kind of settled back into the holidays, and that's when it became what it is today. It's kind of a holiday tradition, and we have people that come every year to see it. We have, it's really fun. Story arc is that Bob Finhead is a frustrated insurance agent. He really wants to be something bigger. He has this dream to be an inventor because he wants to change the world with his inventions, even though his inventions are pretty harebrained. And he wants to get out of town, and he wants to go to this inventing college in the big city of Des Moines, Iowa. And so his best friend, Sheriff Joe, doesn't want him to leave town because he's afraid of change. He doesn't want any change. He wants everything to stay the way it is. So that's kind of the arc. And Bob is having an affair with the mayor's wife, Margie Mincer, and so he's trying to figure that relationship out. And Mayor Roy, he has, without tipping it too much, he has some secrets in his life, so he doesn't, the relationship is kind of between he and his wife is very tenuous, and Bob is frustrated that Margie won't just be with him. And so Bob just kind of wants to get out of town. And the other characters that are in town that come to the party are LaDonna and Lavoris Johnson. They're the richest farmers in the county. They're these twin single spinster, I guess is the word to use, farmers that are very conservative. And they come, and then another character that shows up is Marty. He's the town handyman, and he's kind of a stoner character. And then we have a visit from Carol, who's the minister's wife. She comes in to drop off some napkins, and she announces that she's going to go to the Lutheran talent show, or the Lutheran church, and she's going to sing a song at the talent show. So we all get her to sing a song, and she's she's very shy, and that turns into a very it's a very entertaining moment in the show when she sings her song. And then the other character that comes in at the beginning of the play is Elwyn Bewey, who was a person that they grew up in the town, and for some reason didn't get along with everybody, and they picked on him, and they pretty much bullied him, and he got out of town and became very successful. And he's a multi-millionaire, and he's coming back to town to visit, and he wants to he has some agenda. It comes clear why he's in town, but he comes back, and that brings up a lot of memories and uncovers a lot of old wounds. And so he has to work through that, and we all have to work through that. And then our last character that comes into the play is Brandy, who's how do I say that? She's the woman in town that is always hanging out at the bar that she always wants Sheriff Joe to put her in the handcuffs and take her down to the, and he says later, we'll talk about that later. And so she brings a little bit of spice to the party. So the party starts out very, very orderly and prim and proper, and by the end of the show, it's everything's come undone. There's a lot of drinks spilled and cheese balls on the floor, and a lot of secrets revealed. I think we going back to that original show idea, I think we just had some ideas and we wanted to try these out. So Joe and I have known each other for a long time, and he's very funny and a real storyteller. And that first show was just him coming in and kind of telling stories, and we've kept a lot of those things. And it's just how we work off each other. I play kind of the straight man. Bob is the straight man, who's kind of he's the one that the audience looks to as to keep everything grounded in reality, because all the other characters are so extreme. And the people that we have with us, we kind of have a connection to the Midwest. There's people that we've met. Like I mentioned, that first show, the Girly Magazine Party, Mark Fight was in that show. And Mark has been a performer out here for, since how long would that be? 30 years or more. He has a lot of characters, and he's always doing shows around town. He has a great show that he does at the three clubs called the Tony Martini Hour. And he's very funny. And he plays the character of Marty. And that's a character that he created with his act Two-Headed Dog that he does with Jim Turner. And so we've got Marty in our show. So he's doing his character there. We have the actors that are playing the twins this year. Johanna Mackay has been doing it over the past few years. And we have Judy Hennigan coming in. She's done it once before. In the past few years, we've had Miley Flanagan and Melissa Denton playing the parts. And due to scheduling, Melissa got a job in Minneapolis, so she's not able to do the show this year. And Miley is very busy. She's does a lot of Comic-Cons because she's a voiceover actress and very well known. She does the voice of that Japanese anime Naruto. So because of that, she has a lot of weekend appearances. And she's also has a busy schedule, so she wasn't able to do it this year. And we're going to miss them, but we have really, really great actors coming in to play them. This year to play Elwin, we have Peter Breitmeyer, and Elwin is the character who came back, the rich guy. So Peter Breitmeyer will be playing that, and they're going to be great. We just had rehearsed last night with them. They're hilarious. We have Andrea Hutchman coming back to play Margie. She's been playing Margie over the years. She comes from Chicago and also the Minneapolis scene. And we have Serena Irwin, who's going to be playing Carol and Brandy. She's been playing that role for the past 6 years or more. Oh, and then who's playing Mayor Roy is going to be Pat Town. And Pat's been doing the show for the past half a dozen years. And Pat is a hilarious actor from Chicago, like a Second City actor. And he's really funny. So it's a great, great cast. We have a lot of fun. We had our first rehearsal and read-through was really fun to get everybody to get together. Well, we want them to have a great time. You know, in the philosophical thing about theater, we want them to forget the troubles from the past and just enjoy themselves for the hour and a half or hour and 45 minutes of Bob's. You know, so it's just a very silly show. I think I just get people that react to the show in such a nice way, and it's always fun to hear that. So I hope that they can get that out of it. I mean, it's a little bit outrageous. I mean, people come in and I'm always concerned that people might, well, not that they're going to get offended, but if they, you know, we make fun of a lot of things, and it can get really, I call it like, it's like a play version of The Hangover or something like that. It's kind of an R-rated play. But, you know, 2 weeks ago, I went to see a friend do stand-up comedy, and there was a woman that I was talking to afterwards, and she was looking at him. She goes, you've look familiar. What have you done? And I really, since COVID, I haven't been doing too much performing. And I said, well, I don't know. I do comedy here and there. And she goes, do you do a play? And I said, well, yeah, I'm getting ready to do a play, Bob's Holiday Office Party. And she goes, you're Bob. Oh, you're Bob. Oh my God, I love that show. And she started telling everybody around the lobby area about our show. And she had come to see it with her brother had brought her to see it. And then she's bringing more people. And that's kind of, we find that happens with people that it's just kind of infectious, and then people come back year after year. And we really, I started noticing that maybe 10 years ago when I was over at the Hudson Theater, which is a small theater. And I went out to the lobby, and there were all these people standing there, and they were saying, oh, hi, it's so good to see you. This show is part of our holiday tradition. And I kind of heard that, but that's when it really started to hit me that people come back to see the show year after year. And in the past, we've had groups rent a bus, and come in a party bus. We've had people dress up sometimes they dress up in characters from the show, or they'll wear, those crazy Christmas sweaters. And so they really get into that. And it's just it's really, really wonderful to see that. And we did an event and we're going to do that this year, where we had an audience talk back, where we came out and talked to the audience after the show on a Saturday night. And I think it was Melissa who started asking people, she goes, I've got a question. How many people have seen this show for the first time? And there was a few people that raised their hand. Now, how many have seen it 2 times? And then a couple other people. And how many have seen it more than 4 times? And then more people raised their hand. And how many people have seen it like 8 times? And then like the whole crowd had raised their hands. And I was amazed that people come, well, not amazed, but just really honored that people come back to see this time after time. But I think people must come to get on the Bob's train and find out what it's about. Over the years, we've had people that there were some actors that would come up to see our show on a Sunday night after they had done the Christmas Carol down at South Coast Repertory. And I learned that after a few years, that it was kind of their tradition. So they would do their show. I think it was I don't know if it was like after their last show on a matinee, and they would rush up to see our show. And that guy, his name is Don Took, was an actor in the Christmas Carol. And I got to know him. And one year I was in June, I was in New York City, and I was on the subway. I'm just riding the subway like you do in New York. And this guy was sitting down in the chair, or in the seat at a subway. They don't have chairs in the subway, but the seat. He leaned over to me, and I was standing there like holding onto the strap or the pole. He leaned over to me and he goes, is there going to be a Bob's Holiday Office Party this year? And I went, what? Who are you? And it was Don Took, and he was this actor from the South Coast Rep. That was really fun. So I'm thinking of the people that have come over the years. Matt Groening, the creator of The Simpsons, is a fan of the show. He's come almost every year, and he heard about the show because a friend of his who teaches theater over at Occidental College at the theater department would bring his students, and brought Matt one year. And so Matt comes back to see the show. And then, there's just, I'm mentioning people that are actors, but there's just the everyday people that write me. I always get emails around the early fall or late summer about where's the show going to be this year. So it's wonderful, and it's kind of like, so I'm going to do it again this year, I guess. I don't know if I'll ever stop. This is the 25th year. And the first year back, that's the other reason why people should come see it. It's the first year back after COVID. So we haven't done it since 2019. Well, I think the thing about the play is that it's kind of about a small town. I mean, it's all about a small town and the community and the characters, and they all, even though they're different characters and they kind of have their arguments, there's a real sense of community to the town, and that's part of the arc of the show. But I would hear people talk about it afterwards. Whether people are from even the East Coast or the West Coast, they can relate to these small town characters. And I even had a friend who was a director who is from New York City, and he was really, there was something he said about those people that's just kind of a heartwarming story about how they feel about each other. And hopefully we're trying to get that apart, especially in these times, as character Joe says, in these times of pain and suffering, we can get together and have a sense of community. So that's kind of the arc of it. It's kind of a little bit of It's a Wonderful Life, that kind of a positive story. It's all the mayhem and the spilled drinks and the cheese balls. Well, my name is Rob Elk, and I play Bob Finhead in Bob's Holiday Office Party. And you can go to www.bobsofficeparty.com for tickets.
Pastorela is Teatro Mascala's signature production. For the past 32 years, Teatro Mascala has been presenting Pastorela during, of course, the holiday season in December. Bill Virtus, the director, wanted to tell a story that was universal and yet had so much gravitational cultural pull to Mexico. He went to Mexico City and in the span of a few days sat and saw 35 different pasarelas. He returned to San Diego and found a pasarela play written by Mr. Montcalvo. And that's ironic, and I'll get to that in a moment. And every year since, it is a celebration. It actually is a musical. And it's, of course, the journey to the birth of Christ. But it is set in a battle of Satan versus, Gabriel. And to his credit, Bill has fashioned pasarelas there's some humor involved. For a few years, it was kind of a commentary on what was going on in society. It is a play that involves children, involves families. In the last few productions, people have come up to me afterwards and says, my granddad was one of the actors, or my brother was Gabriel, or the connections, the generational connections are astounding. We literally have 3 going on 4 generations of families who have participated. And it has, of course, become a tradition, particularly in the Latino community. The story is an old one, that of the pilgrimage of the shepherd leading the flock to what they believe, who they believe will be the Savior, the Christ child. And along their journey, they are challenged by Satan, the devil, who, of course, does not want this child born, and in fact is endeavoring to do away with the child. So all the while throughout the journey, the pilgrims are menaced by Satan and his devils, and somehow Gabriel is always able to come in and rescue these pilgrims. And of course, there's the inevitable fight between Satan and Gabriel. So they, of course, journey forward, and all along the way, they are singing songs like Silent Night, both in Spanish and English, and other songs that are more culturally attuned. And it's really a story of victory. It's a story of overcoming. It is set in a religious context, i.e., they're going to the Christ child, but I think it's a universal story about people overcoming, incredible odds and still moving forward with their dream, towards their dream. I think audiences love it because, number one, it's a family show. At the end of every pasarela, we hang a piñata, and we invite all the kids. And there are some super sluggers out there, and the kids love it, and the families love it. I go to a lot of plays, and pretty much after the play is over, people pretty much, they go out. Pasarela, they're like there for as long as they can, because they're talking about the play, they're talking to the actors. It's really kind of an intimate experience. And it goes deep to the heart of the yearnings and the struggles of not only Latino, but anybody who's in the audience. We all have, as they say, a cross to bear. We all have our journeys. We all have our challenges. And the spirit of these pilgrims, that no matter what, they continue forward because their belief overcomes any obstacle before them. Well, what I believe, and I think I know what the audience experiences, is really a very positive and reinforcing, uplifting message that dreams are worth fighting for, that it's not just people with means that can overcome adversity. During the journey, we learned that these pilgrims barely have enough to eat. And yet when you see their spirit, they're happy because they're moving towards something. They know that a better day lies ahead. And I hope that vicariously the audience connects with that. And whatever they may be going through, they will get inspired and by the story and the courage that they're witnessing during the play. First of all, I just love it. I love the acting, and it's, of course, I've seen the rehearsals, and you'd think it would be, man, but no, it's great. I love the energy. Isn't that what theater is? Every theater production, every performance is different. It's unique. You know, it's not a rerun, it's live. And so I love that part of it. And having been to the rehearsals, I love seeing the before and the after, the brilliant acting and singing and directing. But I'm also looking at the audience. I want to know, are they connecting? And I love it when the entire theater breaks out in applause or laughter or sometimes groans. That tells me they're connecting, that this is an interactive experience for them. So those are things that I look for. And I just love what it's bringing to the community. And I feel like I've used the word intimate before. It really is an intimate experience shared by a community. And I believe it has a lasting power. To anyone who's watching, you got to see this production. It is joyful, great music, great acting. It's a story you're not going to see a lot of places. And it's done with originality and authenticity. This could have almost a made in Mexico stamp on it. So it's a beautiful production. It's a beautiful story. And it's a slice of culture that many are probably not going to be exposed to. And I think that unlike some theater productions, this is really, you will feel the connections, the energy of the community that you're sitting with. So I can't say enough. This is Luis Aragon, Managing Director of the great theater company Teatro Máscara Mágica. Come and see our pasarela. Get tickets now. Get them now. I will see you there.
Hi, I'm Jerry Patch, the resident dramaturg at South Coast Repertory and the adapter of Christmas Carol. Thanks for tuning in. If you want to know more about South Coast Rep, A Christmas Carol, stay tuned. Well, I've been asked about, adapting A Christmas Carol, and the most honest answer I could give is a gorilla could adapt that story. It's such a good story. It's almost impossible to screw it up. But David and Martin decided that they, wanted to have a production of A Christmas Carol because there wasn't one in Orange County. And so I was asked to do an adaptation of it. And, I'd read my Dickens and whatnot. And I came up with a draft one summer. Essentially, it was I was living in Huntington Beach, about 400 yards from the beach, and I would get up at 5 a.m. before my kids got up, and sit down and try to put myself in foggy London, and at Christmas time, and write it there. And it actually was fairly easy because, as these things go, Dickens has given you everything. you don't really need anything other than what he's got in the story. So now it's a matter of what are the lines going to be? What are the characters going to say to one another? How is it going to evolve? But the redemption of Scrooge is the action of the play, and you just, go through with that. So, and then having written a draft of it, I spent literally years with John David Keller, the director, and Hal Landon, who was playing Scrooge, talking it through, talking it over, and we would refine it. I mean, I don't think we ever did the same script twice. We made changes. There were certain scenes that we changed every year until we felt like, okay, this is as close as we're going to get, that kind of a thing. But you never want to sit, and go, we're done on any kind of a production. You keep working, you keep trying to make it better. And this year is very interesting because we have a new director, Hisa Takakua, who had always been the assistant director on it, and mainly the wrangler and director of the children that are in the show. And Hisa's very good, Smith College, incredibly bright woman. So I'm eager to see what she's done with it and what Richard Doyle will do with Scrooge. And Doyle's perspective is interesting to me because I had this theory that if you were an actor and you watched another actor play a part, that you inevitably would be thinking, yep, no, I wouldn't do that, something else. And I asked Richard, I said, you've been half the parts in the play and now you're playing Scrooge. And he said, oh yeah, I have some ideas. So I think it's, he comes sort of like semi-loaded, if you will, into the first rehearsal because he's had so much experience with the play. And, it's going to be interesting to see what he as an artist brings to it that's different and new. So there are Christmas carols, to be had other than ours. And I think what we've always tried to do is to do one for our community, for Orange County. And part of that has to do with the fact that we're using children who are, enrolled in our conservatory, who audition for the show and are picked because they're good enough to do it. And this is meaningful in the sense that, they go to school, they have schoolmates, and they're classmates and their classmates' parents and other people come to see the show. There are people, this is the 41st year of A Christmas Carol, and I mean, that dates me certainly, but there are people who've seen every one of them. So it is like a church service in a way. It's kind of like a secular service. And I think we do that principally for the community. I mean, the myth or the cynical view, particularly from critics who, oh my God, not another Christmas Carol, this kind of a thing, is that you're just doing it for the money. Well, the money is nice, but no, the reason you do it is the community wants it. They use it to celebrate their Christmas. And so we've been lucky enough to be tasked with coming up with one. And, it's gone very well for us. So, as I say, this is going to be a different kind of a year because of the changes we're making, but, it's still going to be the same story that Charles Dickens told. And, Dickens, by the way, if people don't know, performed this himself. Jefferson Mays did A Christmas Carol at the Geffen Theater last year, all by himself, a one-man show, and played all the characters. And Dickens used to do that. And he would come to the United States and make a great deal of money touring, playing all of the Christmas Carol himself. First of all, it's quite musical. A friend of mine, Dennis McCarthy, who was in the Motion Picture Academy's Composers Hall of Fame, Dennis was, first of all, I've known Dennis since he was 9 years old and I was 11. And Dennis, as a teenager, played keyboards for the Beach Boys and the Hondells and some other people. If they couldn't get Leon Russell in a session, Dennis got hired. And then he became Glenn Campbell's music director when Glenn started out. And then he wound up, after a series of media assignments, writing, as the principal composer for the Star Trek television series, and he worked on that for 18 years. And so Dennis is, a very talented composer. So he took a lot of traditional songs and blended them, made pastiches, musical pastiches out of them. And there's a terrific score to this play, which Dennis created several years ago that we use. So I think if you come to our carol, that's one thing you're going to get. And the other is, as I say, not everybody uses children, certainly not to the extent that we do. And it's really kind of nice to see, that number of young people up on a stage, as well as a number of years ago now, we went to a complete diverse casting. So we don't, two things we don't do. It's just not all white people by any means. And second, what is the second? It just popped out. Oh yeah, we don't do the dialects. One of the things that we felt made it more accessible to more people who might not be accustomed to going to the theater is to do the show simply in general American dialect. And, some people say, well, they're in London. Yeah. And if you watch an Ibsen play in London, they all have British dialects, even though all those characters are in Norway. So, I mean, if it's good literature, you don't need to do it in dialects. So we think it's more accessible. I know when I go to London and listen to plays, it takes me 5 minutes just to get my ears tuned. And I'm very used to it, to once again listening to British actors. So I would say what's different about ours, aside from the fact that we've worked on it for a long time and I hope refined it, is the music that we bring to it, the children we bring to it, and the accessibility. Hi, everybody. I'm Jerry Patch. I'm the resident dramaturg at South Coast Preparatory. And also the adapter of A Christmas Carol. It's a show that has been running for 41 years, so we must be doing something right. And if you haven't seen it, by all means, come and check us out this year. It's certainly worth your time and a great way to celebrate the holidays. And if you have seen it, come on back. We miss you.
My name's David Ivers. I'm the artistic director here at South Coast Rep.
I'm Suzanne Appel. I'm the managing director here at South Coast Repertory. I also want to thank you for making A Christmas Carol part of your cherished holiday tradition and for joining us tonight. We have an announcement to make and some very important people to recognize this evening, and so we're going to ask for your patience before the show gets started. We have an incredible family that are our 45th anniversary honorary producers, Julianne and George Ardros, Lisa Ardros, and Stephanie Ardros. And the Ardros family has supported this production for 18 years, which is really amazing. We're also really grateful that this year, Lisa and Stephanie joined their parents, Julia and George, in sponsoring this year's all of the lobby installations, that hot chocolate bar, everything out on the terrace. There's a special surprise for you after you leave the theater out on the terrace. All of those were contributions that they made in honor of the 45th anniversary. Our board of trustees, without which we could not produce this incredible season. They really represent, they're all volunteers, and they represent Orange County looking out for this theater and this production along with the rest of our season. And I'm going to ask our board of trustees to stand. If you're a member of the board, please stand and be recognized. I see all of you. I also believe that we have Supervisor Katrina Foley here this evening. Is Supervisor Foley here? I know she was planning to come. And for those of you who are not aware, the supervisor is supporting our upcoming Theater for Young Audiences production, Cinderella, A Salsa Fairy Tale, which is coming up in early 2026. So if you have little kids, anywhere between the ages of 5 and 12, I can't highly recommend this enough. It's an incredible production, and the supervisor has been very supportive of South Coast Repertory, so we wanted to thank her for her support. And David, I'm going to hand it back to you for our special announcement.
Thank you. When I'll try to keep this brief, but when I first had the honor of moving here to accept this job, and apparently bringing COVID to the world, I was like 5 months into this job and had a very special meal with Julianne Ardros at Watergrill, where she pledged $5 million gift to South Coast Repertory. It was really easy to say, I'll take care of lunch. And part of that $5 million gift was $1 million gift for a dream for us to reimagine A Christmas Carol, a new production. And this was tied into, as you might expect, and many of you heard, both Hal Landon having done 40 years as Scrooge, and and this incredible conservatory that we run here being involved with these productions. And so all these things coming together led us to this gift. And then COVID happened, and a lot of other things happened, and we didn't get to it, and we've been rebuilding. Well, we're standing here to say that as a leadership team, go ahead.
We're back.
We are back.
You all have been an incredible audience the last 2 seasons. We know that audiences are really flooding back to the theater. People are tired of isolation and being at home. Thank you so much for coming back, because that has inspired us to recognize that we could move into a new phase for South Coast Repertory.
So here's the deal. We're going to announce tonight a couple things. One, the production you see tonight will finish its run tonight. It will also be on this stage next year. It will be on this stage the year after that. And the earliest you'll be seeing a new adaptation of A Christmas Carol, which will be faithful to Dickens' story and benefit by a homegrown, home-built, produced production of scale and substance and joy at South Coast Repertory. The earliest you would see that on our stages is likely 2028. So you have plenty of time to enjoy this new tradition, this tradition before a new one arrives. I'm here tonight to announce to you that I will be directing that production for South Coast Repertory. Yay, I'm glad that's good news to you. It's terrifying to me. I had an interview the other day who said, congratulations, you're the lead that has to do a new Christmas Carol. I'm very excited because I love Dickens. And my mother's English, so I feel like I'm just really doing something great for my mom. And I'm here tonight to tell you that there's a really spectacular legacy playwright that is vitally important to South Coast Repertory, vitally important to our ecosystem, and vitally important to the national and international theatrical canon of work. She's here with us tonight. She's going to come out and say a few words, and she has been commissioned to adapt the new Christmas Carol. It'll be her 7th commission with South Coast Repertory. Her plays have premiered here. She is a Pulitzer Prize finalist for her play Freedomland. She wrote The Beard of Avon, Safe in Hell, You Nero, Shrew, and Monster Builder. She has a great love of character structure, and her comedic sensibility makes her a perfect collaborator to launch the next 45 to 50 years of our Christmas Carol. Will you please help me in welcoming to the stage playwright Amy Freed.
Hi everybody, I am just thrilled to be back here in this very theater where I've had so many wonderful and happy experiences during my development here as a playwright. As David mentioned, I think my first trip down here was in 1996 for an introductory chat, which was terrifying for me as an unknown playwright, which became a commission, which became a production, which launched my actual playwriting career. And since that time, I have been fortunate to have had the help, the assistance, and the belief of South Coast Rep. There's no theater I love more, and there is no audience I love more than the audience of this community that has watched me grow for the theater. So it's just a pleasure and a real Christmas present for me when David made me this offer and said, would I be interested in working on a new version of Christmas Carol? And it's a terrific honor. It's, Jerry Patch has done a wonderful job, and he was also my mentor and dramaturg over the years. So I want to do everybody proud. And I respect and love the tradition of this play, because all over the world where it plays, it becomes like a foundation and a return spot for the community. And to join the lists to bring a new vision and expression to the play as times change and the world evolves and what we need to hear is different and changes. I can't wait to get started, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity. So thank you, David, and thank you, South Coast, and the audience support and the production support through all these years. It's a real honor and joy to be back with you all today.
Thank you.
But first, deep thanks to you, to Jerry Patch and his adaptations, to director Hisa Takakua for this extraordinary night that you'll have with us tonight.
Enjoy A Christmas Carol.
Hi, my name is Craig Causin. I'm the chairman of the Chuck Jones Center for Creativity. If you would like to know more about the types of programs and events that we do with the Chuck Jones Center for Creativity, watch the conversation here. Thank you. The Chuck Jones Center for Creativity was founded when Chuck was still alive in 1999, and really the whole, in a nutshell, it was the question that came up pretty much between originally Linda and me, my mother, Chuck's daughter. How can the experience that so many people have had regarding Chuck, his persona, his philosophies, on inspiring imagination and creativity? And so the organization continues to attempt to foster creativity and innovation through arts-based programs to allow predominantly young people, but a lot of different groups, really anybody, to find the creativity that exists that's unique inside of every person. And so to create environments, to create programs, to create challenges that allow people to find that, express it, and then learn how to use it in other parts of their lives. So that's really the goal of the entire organization. The programs for the Chuck Jones Center for Creativity, which is really what the essence of the center is all about, is doing programs to have hands-on interactive environments. Now that we're back in person, it is about the putting challenges in front of people, putting a prompt, having a guideline for them to achieve something. And I don't mean to create an achievement like they've done a great job. It's more of, here's something to do. How are you going to do it? What's the experience of creating something? And they, in a program with multiple people, it's not about having them do something the same as the person next to them. If the prompt is maybe a mammal, and everybody picks a mammal, and maybe there's reference materials, and then they get to have their own version of that. And the teaching artists are there to help them across the next steps of what they're doing. If there's any challenges, to be there to support. But it really is encouraging. If somebody says, well, what should I draw? Then the answer is, well, what do you want to draw? Well, what do you want me to draw? Well, what do you want to draw? And then it's like really digging down deep and finding the essence of something. If I remember, there was a program that was the prompt was transportation, and it was actually a seniors program, and everybody addressed it and approached it differently. And they had small groups, which is a big part of what we do a lot of times, is to do small groups. So there's collaboration, there's discussion, there's mediation, you name it, that are so critical. But then the people play off each other and come up with a goal, and then each person puts their own essence into it. And so to come up with, and one thing leads to another, and whether it's with a group or an individual, one thing leads to another. And those little ideas, if they're allowed to flourish, Chuck always talked about that those ideas come up, and as long as you don't kill them immediately with, oh, that's not a good thing, or if somebody else doesn't do that, then great ideas can come to fruition, and you never know where they're going to end up. So that is the essence of our programs, is to create that environment for the inspiration of that creative thinking. One of the things that people ask us quite a bit is, why do you utilize arts so much in what you do? First of all, Chuck being a traditional fine artist, and then bringing an art form of animation, bringing an art form of writing and drawing, and all the things that he did as an artist throughout his lifetime, gave us a foundation and a guideline for it. But Chuck was very clear that creativity is not only in the arts, and arts does not mean creativity. They're not synonyms to each other. That creativity exists in every discipline, whether it be science or medicine or business or education, anything, that there is creativity that can exist in that. And so, but for the arts, it gives, there's no necessarily right answer. And I think that is something that, if you're doing math, you can be very creative in math, but the goal oftentimes is to get the exact right answer. In art, Chuck always said, you can't be king of art. You can't be president of art. That each of us brings something unique. And so it frees the mind from having to believe that there's a right way to do something and a right goal at the end of it. It has to do with the process of doing it. And then you get to figure out, is this where I want to stop? Is this where I want to abandon this work of art? But it allows for lots of different types of thinking to achieve the goal of creating something. And so that, I believe, is why the arts in general are so freeing. And that understanding, that practice of finding and exercising the creative thinking that exists in all of us translates to other parts of our life. So if we need to solve a problem, if we get a flat tire in the middle of a highway where nobody is and there's no cell phone service, what do you do? I mean, solving problems that creativity will bring allows us to solve problems in our lives, in the world, in society. So that's how important these programs are, to teach particularly the young people how they can adapt through an ever-changing environment in our communities. People would ask Chuck, what his favorite characters are, and what is my favorite program? And that, for me, is very simple. I can answer that. I'm an engineer by training. It was my first career, and so Acme Inventions is my hands down favorite. I never did the 100,000 bad drawings that Chuck and his teacher at Chenard said you had to do to really become that drawing artist. I didn't do those, but I did have to solve problems my entire career throughout school. And so the idea of putting objects, and usually they're random things. If we go out to a university or a museum or a school, we ask them to gather up things from their environments for their community. We'll bring the standard stuff, whether it be wire or adhesives or whatnot. But we pile all of that in the middle of the room and usually there's a prompt, and usually there's, here's something we're going to do. It's not just a free for all. There's a discipline, and you've got 45 minutes to do XYZ as either a group or an individual. And the idea of taking a look at what's in front of me. And so for me to experience it myself and to go, how am I going to create a robot? And I did see a young man do it one time with his family, that to create something new that would solve a problem in their life. And he and his family created a robot that was designed to clean his room for him. And so it was an ongoing problem for him and his family that he didn't clean his room, but he created a robot. And you could see all of the things around and how they pieced it together and the way it would work, and that if it actually did the functioning, and it had a vacuum hose, and it had a disposal, and it had all these different things. And for me, that putting together the opportunity, and back as an electrical engineer, looking at the potential energy of something. What is the potential that's sitting here to put together to do something? And you ask, did it ever occur to me that is, it was something special? Back, it must have been about 2009 or 2010. We were working with a group of high school students, and they went room to room experiencing different things. And ours was on the experience of creativity and really exposing them. And these are 15 to 17 or 18-year-olds, and there must have been 30 people in the room. And so down the whole middle of the table, there were all these objects and all this material, and they were given a prompt, and they had to work as a small team. And I remember at the end of it that, it was probably a 2-hour program, and the creations, the high ones, the low ones, whatever it was they were making, that there was so much energy in each of those groups. And I remember passing by one of the groups, and the young lady, she probably 15 or 16, and she looks at her friends and she goes, okay, this by far was the greatest program and experience that we've had today. I just don't understand why. And it was sort of that moment of like, why did we just do this? And the answer was because you got together and solved something, and you did something that was different and new and creative. And that you can take with you into other parts of your life. And she's like, oh, and you could see just lightness coming through her. And so, that was 15 years ago. And I still to this day remember the excitement of that sort of situation coming to life in one of our programs. one of the things that's asked is we do programs, and we've done programs in I don't know, 15 or 20 states that have trailed along with museum exhibitions. We now have regional centers in the Chicagoland area. We are starting a regional center in Central Florida. There are other pop-up locations that happen. There are smaller events that happen with the Center for Creativity across the country. And I'm asked as I go out and we do these programs, why, how would we start this? How would we do that? And the vision really started about 16 years ago, in that the idea was to model something here in Southern California, where Chuck lived and we are, and we call it the home base, and we cultivate programs here. But then anybody out there who has the desire to bring the Chuck Jones Center for Creativity programs to their community, we work together to figure out what fits, because not every community does the same thing. It's not like we put up 4 walls and this is the way you do it. It's some people want to do it in community centers. Some people want to bring it into the school. Some people want to do it with autism groups. Some people want to do it with senior centers. That we have programs for just about everybody, and to tailor those, bring them to the community, whether it's one time or an ongoing basis, or training a group of teaching artists in the local community to bring them out. We've done that all throughout the time. And so anybody who's interested in bringing more creative thinking to their youth in particular, or certain groups within their community, we have the ability to reach out to the world to not only train, but oftentimes we can actually facilitate virtually now a teacher to lead with local volunteers. We've done programs that are very large where we have virtual teachers who then can actually see and communicate, because we have two-way communication abilities like we're doing. And so every community can use a little injection of creative thinking in their communities. So we're open to partnering with other nonprofit organizations or educational institutions, museums, to bring these programs to the world. So a lot of times we're asked, why is it that we reach out for donations and support from the community, and whether it's the local community or beyond? And the fact is that Chuck was work for hire at Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers owns the Looney Tunes, and they're gracious enough to partner with us to allow us to utilize the characters in our programs. And so that is a unique opportunity that we have to utilize really the history of these Looney Tunes, Chuck's genius in these characters that he created. But it's not like he's getting, or anybody gets, royalties on these characters. He doesn't own them. We never own them. So the idea that we need outside support, like any nonprofit needs community support in order to survive, is the same for the Chuck Jones Center for Creativity. And one of the things that Chuck always talked about was figure out what it is that you want to achieve, what you love, and what you want to bring to the world, and then take a step forward. And that's what we've been doing for 24 years now, since the organization was created. And we don't know where the next step of funding is going to come from, but we believe that those in the community and companies who want to sponsor, and grant funders who believe in what we do, will come out as we go out and tell the story and help us to achieve more throughout local community and beyond. If you've enjoyed any of this information that you've heard today, or are inspired by the types of programs that we bring to the world, I hope you'll get involved. Come visit us at chuckjonescenter.org and sign up, whether it's to donate or get involved or bring programs to your community. So I hope to see you at a future event, and thank you for watching.
You owe it to yourself to come see MGM in concert if you haven't seen it before. There's nothing else available right now that's anything quite like it. It's a concert version of your favorite pieces from favorite memories that MGM has crafted over these decades of a bygone era. And you're not going to find anything that quite matches the magic that you and us together will create when you come to be a part of the audience and of the show of MGM in Concert. Hi, I'm Christopher Showerman. If you want to learn more about MGM in Concert, you're going to love this next conversation. Musicals are a unique form of entertainment because the music itself, it accesses something in us kind of like the sense of smell. It's something deeper. So music can carry that emotion or can carry that energy that sometimes a straight play doesn't have. Also, too, I feel like music is an anchor for us. So you'll notice a lot of times as folks age and if people have memory loss, sometimes they can't remember stories or even how to say certain things, but if you put it in musical form, magically it accesses another part of the brain that is a little more primal, a little more seated in our being. So I feel like we're able to create those anchors and access those anchors through music. MGM in Concert is a fast-moving musical review of the shows from MGM from the late 30s to the mid-50s. And we rock it through over 70 different songs in a very short amount of time because we're taking excerpts from each one, and it's like a smorgasbord of delight from an era that we all think back fondly to. And it makes you feel good to be a part of it. It definitely makes us feel good to share it with you. So we're excited for you to come and see it. The MGM in Concert show is still relevant today, even though we're referencing a bygone era, because there's something primal about the music that we do, like the falling in love of Singing in the Rain. We can all relate to that. Or the wonder of A Wizard of Oz. There are so many core feelings that they access with that music, and the music is so well done. And remember, we're referring to a time that no longer exists, where there was it was called the studio system at the time. So an actor would kind of get hired not just for a project like we are today, but for a contract period. And during that contract period, you could do tens, dozens of projects. And in between, if you weren't working on a project, the studio was constantly schooling you. So it was a never-ending college of dance and comedy and singing. So you were constantly honing this craft and getting better. Now, there's lots of talented performers, new performers that are coming out today, but none of them have that background that the studios were built to create. This really unique and precise form of entertainment. So that's relevant today because we don't get that anywhere else. MGM is a fan favorite because I feel like everybody finds what they need to find in the music. There are so many memories that are embedded in these songs, and when we perform them, the stage is pretty sparse. It's an empty stage. We have a few props. There's a piano and the three of us singing. So you as the audience, your imagination can go anywhere that it wants to go. We're not dialing you into one thought or one image. And so, as you know, we're all so different. And that's one of the successes of a radio play, is that everybody can have the experience that their psyche and their brain wants to take them on. Based on what's there in the radio play. And the same thing with this music. This music triggers whatever it's going to trigger in you, and everybody finds something different. And that, I think, is why people keep coming back and what makes MGM such a fan favorite. When I'm doing a live performance of MGM or any other project for that matter, looking for opportunities to create that connection with an audience. And that's the real difference between performing live on stage and performing for a camera. Whereas if you're on set performing for a camera, your audience are the gaffers and the grips and the cameramen who are standing around you, and they're paid to be dead silent. If they make any noise, they get fired. So you don't get that back and forth, that magic that you do when you're on stage. So when I'm on stage, I look for that communal experience with my friends on stage as well as with the audience outside. And I think Christy mentioned this earlier, when we are having such a good time as a group on stage, it's infectious. If our laugh is a real laugh, or our smile or our banter back and forth is true and genuine, people feel that, and they feel like they're a part of it, because they are, because it's happening now, and it's only happening once, and once this performance is over, it's gone, and the next performance is something different. But that magical thing was something that we all participated in, us, the audience, everybody participated in that moment. And that's what I think makes live theater so special and so unique. Now, I have a ton of favorite parts from MGM in concert. I love all of our group numbers because I love working with them, and Christy and John already know the show so well because they've been doing it forever. And so getting to do the choreography with them, every once in a while we put in some harmony together. So getting to do that with them is a favorite of mine, whether on any of our group numbers. I know Christy mentioned some of the stuff from Annie Get Your Gun, which is really fun because it's goofy, it's funny, and we can just let our freak flags fly on that stuff. There's a song called Too Darn Hot that I loved Tony's take on it because he would go out into the audience and truly connect with people and maybe make people feel slightly uncomfortable, but they knew at that point there's no denying that they're part of the show. And so I love getting that opportunity to carry on that torch that Tony started with that tradition as well. You owe it to yourself to come see MGM in concert if you haven't seen it before. There's nothing else available right now that's anything quite like it. It's a concert version of your favorite pieces from favorite memories that MGM has crafted over these decades of a bygone era. And you're not going to find anything that quite matches the magic that you and us together will create when you come to be a part of the audience and of the show of MGM in Concert. Hi, I'm Christopher Schauerman. I am excited to share with you MGM in Concert, and you're going to be excited to be a part of it. You'll go back in time to some of these classic moments in MGM history, those special movies that happened between the late 30s and the mid 50s that give you a certain feeling of security, of safety, of wonder, and of excitement. So come and check out our show. We can't wait to see you there. See you in the theater.
It's a fan favorite because it just makes you feel so good and safe, and you just enjoy that wonderful time you have. And you'll end up walking out wanting to be nice to other people, wanting to do good things. It puts you in a really good place in life. Just come see it and have a great, great time with us, because we're having a great time up there. And remember, you know, what it used to be like, what's brought it to what's today, and yeah, sometimes it's great to look into the past to enjoy the future a little bit more. Hi, I'm Christy Morrow Cohen. I am a performer and a co-director of MGM in Concert. I'm giving an interview, and I would love for you to come and listen to the interview if you want to hear more about this fabulous show. What it is? Well, it's just an honorary tribute to the old MGM musicals and Broadway shows produced by MGM. Some of the best music, the best stars that existed, and that time was just magical. That same feeling some people have when they go to Disney World, the purity, It's just like we're in a magical place. Nothing can harm us or hurt us here in this world. Well, that same feeling is in this MGM concert, is hearing this music and talking about these old artists, Fred Astaire, Gene Kelly, Judy Garland. It's endless. That was a time where we felt safe. We felt safe. You would lose yourself in that beautiful, imaginary, wonderful world, magical world, I would say. Yeah, so that's why. Makes you feel good. It's an escape from reality. You go to a magical place, no matter what the subject matter is. And you get to release, especially nowadays. People are under a lot of stress, a lot of, and it gets rid of all your woes and ills. You just lose yourself in that magical world. It's a fan favorite because it just makes you feel so good and safe. And you just enjoy that wonderful time you have. And you'll end up walking out wanting to be nice to other people, wanting to do good things. It puts you in a really good place in life. What do I look for? Honestly, I want smiley faces actually responding to me because that elevates an actor's performance, whether the actor knows it or not. It just happens. It's not voluntary, the response. You see people enjoying themselves and having a good time, and you get elevated. Your endorphins start going up, 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 and then you don't know what's going to happen. And I love that feeling of going, yes, we have the structured project, but where can I take this with the audience just a little bit more? It's fun that way, yeah. That's what I would look for, how the audience is going to respond to make the performance have a different way to it, in a sense. For John, I would say it's Over the Rainbow. He loves when I sing Over the Rainbow. I like the fun moments. I like Annie, Get Your Gun, when we're doing the arguing song. I can do something better than you. I like that kind of stuff, and I love the choreography. I love doing steps in unison. That feeling of when we all three come together really fills me up. When we're all doing something, and you get that extra energy, and you're all in it together. Yeah. I think the length for the cabaret shows is perfect at 90 minutes. And I love doing shorter versions of the songs because you can put more of the beautiful material in there, the wonderful material. Different with a musical script, a show. Like I could sit in Les Mis, it's 3 hours long. I love that. That's different because you're with a character. It's like reading a book. So yeah, that's why I think it's perfect the way it is. John and I go way back. We have the same birthday. We are just dear friends, dear friends. I love him so much. He's a wonderful, wonderful person. His family is wonderful. He comes from a very good family. That is why he's such a wonderful person. I truly believe that. And we just both have the same goals. We want to just give and give and give to the theater world in any way we can. We like to perform, we like to put on shows, we like to direct shows, choreograph shows, and so we're on the same page with that, very much so. And I hope to continue. I hope to know him all the way on this whole ride, just never not know who he is as a person. I always want to be in his life. And Chris Showerman is, this is the first show I've actually had the experience of working with Chris Showerman, but he comes in like a light. He's just a wonderful, wonderful person, highly talented, and just super sweet, super sweet. What you're seeing when you meet him, that's him. He's not faking it. He doesn't change who he is. He's just a wonderful, wonderful person, big, big time talent. And he reminds me of my dad when he was young, because he's willing to take chances. He does crazy things, just like my dad, goes in the audience, messes with the people, great ad-libber. And I look forward to continuing shows with him. It's just very fun to work with. Very nice man. Just come see it and have a great, great time with us, because we're having a great time up there. And remember, what it used to be like, what's brought it to what's today. And yeah, sometimes it's great to look into the past to enjoy the future a little bit more. Hi, I'm Christy Morrow Cohen. I am the performer and co-director of MGM in Concert, which is now being produced and put on by the P3 Theater Company and John Peterson. And we are doing this fabulous MGM show, just a throwback to the wonderful, pure, magical, safe time, great music. And we love what we're doing, and we know you will love what you're doing. So come on out and see our show. See you in the theater.
Our theater-going audiences must come see MGM in concert because it is such a unique take in a throwback style of musical review that is rarely done anymore, and performed by 4 incredible talents. Myself, of course. Christy Morrow Cohen and Christopher Showerman share the stage with me, and we are supported by the amazing piano talent of David Scott Cohen. You put the 4 of us together, and it's just going to be a good time. Hi, I'm John Peterson, Executive Artistic Director of P3 Theater Company, producer and performer in MGM in Concert. If you want to hear more about our exciting show, make sure you watch this video. The MGM musicals and the MGM movie musicals were so popular in their time because there was nothing else being done like that. They were taking these full-scale musicals and putting them up on the big screen and hiring the best of the talent to perform these musicals. And the style of music and the story behind the music and the lyrics, they're so relevant even today. So that's why they will stand the test of time. Truly, we're kind of aging out of that era where people may be familiar with a lot of this music, but if they listen to the lyrics and to the message that's being told, they will be able to relate. Our production of MGM in Concert is a crowd favorite for all ages. The older generation is going to be more familiar with the music. They'll hum along with the tunes, they'll sing along with the lyrics. And as the crowds get younger, they may not be as familiar with the material, but it's fun. It's relevant, it's lighthearted. My 7-year-old and my 9-year-old nieces love the show. They have very little exposure to musicals, but it's so upbeat and catchy tunes and so much fun going on stage that they can't help but get caught up in it. And Tony, I can quote Tony, the creator, saying at one point, if there's even one little song in the show that you're not really a fan of, the show moves so quickly that by the time you realize, oh, I don't really care for this song, it's over. And we're already on to the next song that you're going to love no matter what. So that's just that. And the 3 of us that are in the show love this material so much, and we get along so well. We're a family. And that reads into the audience. The audience senses our connection, and they get caught up in that. And they become connected with us. So it's really as if they feel they are part of our journey through this music. One of the cool things about this upcoming year with MGM in Concert is that I only recently realized, so I've been doing the show, we've been doing MGM in Concert since 1996. That's 27 years, right? Yeah, 27 years. I sat down and did the math and asked Christy, hey, how old is your dad? And we got to talking, and I realized that next year in 2024, I will be the age that Tony was when I started doing MGM in Concert back in 1996. So that's kind of a really cool full circle thing, if you really think about it. Tony is Christy's dad. He's not a spring chicken. None of us are anymore, let me tell you. Some days we come out of doing the show and we're like, oh my God, that was so much harder than it was 27 years ago, but we love it just as much, if not even more. So as time has gone on, we've realized it's a big feat, and so Tony has stepped down from the show as far as performing on stage with us. He will always be on stage with us, but what we did was we had to go out in search of somebody who could fill the very big shoes that Tony has left for us. So we came across this amazingly wonderful, talented performer and person, Chris Showerman, and he is now part of our MGM family. So our family's just grown by one, and he is just as wonderful as Tony in his own right, because nobody can fill Tony's shoes. There is no Tony Santamoro other than Tony Santamoro. But if somebody had to bring a sense of joy and excitement and talent and fun to this production, Chris Showerman is the one to fill that bill. So now with Chris Showerman joining myself and Christy Morrow Cohen on the stage, it's a really fun mixture of talent and family. As I mentioned before, Christy and I have been doing this show together and other shows outside of this for over a quarter of a century at this point, and we've got this amazing connection. I mean, she's my older sister. Actually, she's my birthday twin. Christy and I share the same birthday. I won't tell you who's older, but we'll she'll always be prettier than me. That's what matters. And to be able to be on that stage with her and now Chris, it is just a joy. And there's nobody I'd rather sing a love duet with than my birthday twin. For me as a performer, when I am on stage doing MGM in concert, I've said over and over, I've been doing this show for over a quarter of a century. I've never been bored with this show. As I've mentioned over and over again, when you have a live performance, there are two that are not the same. I could wake up one morning and my foot hurts, and I have to perform with a foot that hurts. But the best part about performing is you don't have to think about that foot that hurts while you're on stage entertaining other people and being a part of this live theatrical experience. When I am performing MGM in concert, because I'm so familiar with it, I'm so comfortable with it, and I really, truly enjoy performing this music, I don't have any troubles when I'm on stage for that 90 minutes that this show is happening. I'm literally caught up in the musicality. With David Cohen playing this music, our amazing musical director and accompanist, there is no accompanist I've ever worked with in my life that is like David Cohen. And it's always a comfort zone. It's a happy place. And I just get so swept up in the lyrics too. It's not just about sounding good and performing for people, but it's about interpreting stories and telling stories and sharing these stories and music with our audiences. So I am just literally like on a different planet when I'm performing this, and just really enjoy the heck out of it. For the theater patron that comes to see MGM in concert, first and foremost, I want them to have fun, to enjoy their time, to relish in this beautiful music. I'm hoping that there will create a sense of nostalgia for those who are familiar with a lot of this music, and to introduce younger generations to this style of music and musical. But really, overall, it is just to have fun and to take people away from everything that's going on in the real world and to offer a sense of levity and joy. And I want to see smiles when people walk out of that theater. In general, my favorite part of MGM in concert, for me, I'm not your leading man type. I'm bald. Not as thin as I used to be. So when I get cast in shows, I'm always the funny guy. I'm always the sidekick, which is a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong. But what I like about MGM in concert is I get to sing all the pretty music. And I was classically trained as a singer, so I get to tap into that technique and that style of sounding really pretty and singing beautiful songs. And really, anytime I am singing a duet, a love duet with Christy, it's just fun and warm, and we have a great connection. No, we are not in love with each other. She's got a husband. I'm gay. But just getting to do that and create those characters song by song. And I have to say, one of my favorites that I sing with her is So in Love from Kiss Me, Kate. It's such a beautiful, Cole Porter is an amazing composer. And that song, with the harmonies that we are doing, we have such a blend and a connection that is amazing. Now, on the other hand, I do like to be fun and silly. And Chris Showerman and I have some great fun times together. Brush Up Your Shakespeare is also from Kiss Me, Kate. And it's a silly, fun character type song. So those are really my two favorite moments in the show. Solo, I get a lot of great solo work in this show, and it's just to sit back and relish in it is amazing and fun. But singing with the two of them, each with the different styles of music, is the best. Our theater-going audiences must come see MGM in concert because it is such a unique take in a throwback style of musical review that is rarely done anymore, and performed by four incredible talents. Myself, of course. Christy Morrow Cohen and Christopher Showerman share the stage with me, and we are supported by the amazing piano talent of David Scott Cohen. You put the four of us together, and it's just going to be a good time. One of the cool things about MGM in concert is that we have performed this show in tiny little clubhouses, even almost meeting room type spaces, and we've also performed it on 2,000-seat theaters, big proscenium stages. So this show can play just about any space. We do have the show playing in different theaters around Orange County and LA counties, and as I've said, I would love to see that expand. But the show is also available for us to perform at different facilities, different centers for potentially for fundraising events, corporate parties. So it's not just a show that we have to do in a theater by itself and perform for specific audiences. It can be done in any type of setting. My hope long-term for MGM in concert is that we can have multiple iterations of this production where we have different casts out performing it really nationwide would be fantastic. I'd love to get a touring company going. I would love to get this show on the cruise ships. This type of show would be so welcome on cruise lines. And I would just love to have it going on a regular basis and be bringing this music and this particular production to audiences all over. Again, this is John Peterson, Executive Artistic Director and founder of P3 Theater Company. For more information on MGM in concert, be sure to visit our website at www.p3theater.biz. That's P3theatre.biz. See you at the theater. For more information on where to find MGM in concert or to book MGM in concert for a private event, make sure to visit our website at www.p3theater.biz. For more information on where to find MGM in concert or to book MGM in concert for a private event, make sure to visit our website at www.p3theater.biz. For more information on where to find MGM in concert or to book MGM in concert for a private event, make sure to visit our website at www.p3theater.biz.
I'm Allison Zada.
And I'm Valen Shore.
And if you would like to learn more about our musical Chris Kirkpatrick Miss, please, listen to this interview. I think that the theater experience is such a unique format because it's something that you can really only experience live and together with this group of people that are coming from who knows where. You might never see any of these people again, but for these 1 to 2 hours, you are having this shared experience that everyone is part of. And I think it's really transformative. And to be able to help create that experience for people is magical. Valentina and I both loved theater all our lives and been part of that experience from an audience perspective. And you walk out of that theater changed if it's gone well. And I think that some people are walking out of our show feeling that way. And it's really special.
I first fell in love with theater in middle school. I was the student director of Wizard of Oz because I was too afraid to try out. And I played the piano during whatever that song is, Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And that was a pretty inspiring experience, and I was hooked ever since.
I first fell in love with theater when I was a kid and my older brother Steven was in a high school production of The Crucible. He played John Proctor and he's 10 years older than me. And I just remember going and watching my big brother on stage and thinking that was such an incredible thing to get to do. And I wanted to do it too. And so then I started doing all of my school shows, and in middle school had the opportunity to be a part of the child company in a professional production that was in my town. And I got hooked. So from there on, it's been ongoing. I've been writing forever. I think that I probably fell in love with writing as a way to kind of correct things that I felt like weren't going the way I thought they would in my life. So I would write alternate versions where they went the way that I wanted them to go, like fanfic of my own existence, I guess. And then from there, I just, reading was always my greatest pleasure in life. We moved around a lot when I was a kid, and things would change, but the books that I brought with me were always the consistent thing that kept me grounded and made me feel like I was at home. And then to realize that I could be someone who also made those books, that felt really good to me. So I writing prose was something that I did for a long time. And then, once I started getting more involved in theater and started reading scripts for, movies and TV shows as well, I'm realizing that was something that people did because for a long time, I didn't even know, that people made those things. It didn't occur to me as a child. And then eventually you're like, oh, there's someone doing this and I could do that. So we started writing. And then when Valen and I met each other, we just had so many incredibly shared ideas that we wanted to bring to life, and working together just was a natural part of our friendship. So we've been creating together for as long as we've known each other.
Yeah. And I started writing music when I was 7 years old. I play by ear, and I taught myself how to play. But like Allison, didn't really understand that it was something people did, but I was just kind of figuring it out. And it was a big part of my life from that point, like a therapeutic kind of thing. And when I turned 17 or 18 and my parents got divorced, I wrote a lot about that and helped me get through it. And I would say that's when my songs started taking a turn, and I couldn't stop writing them. I personally love musicals because I don't think you can find another 360-degree experience of art in the same exact way as musical theater. And just the idea that a song can push the narrative and the story, and that it's a way for the characters to express something that they couldn't normally do in everyday life. It has to be spectacular. It has to be fantastical, and just, the emotions overtake them. It's just a fascinating way to incorporate music and story together. I think we've done it as a human species.
Yeah, I think Valen said that beautifully. I think for me, musicals, I think the first time that I saw a musical and was just completely gobsmacked by the possibilities that musical theater provided was when I was in middle school and saw a high school production of Into the Woods, which sounds like it would be not great, but it was the most fantastic thing I'd ever seen. I don't know, these kids they should all be on Broadway. I don't know what they're doing now, but I had never heard Sondheim before. And hearing those lyrics and how clever they were, and just how smart, and how, as Valen says, the narrative was in the songs. It's not just there's a song, we're going to sing about it, and then the story moves on. It was all just tied up in this. He's just a genius, right? He was incredible. And that to me is the height of what you can do. So from his wordplay has always been the thing that's inspired me. And then, you can't say things sometimes, but you can sing them.
Chris Kirkpatrickness came about as an idea 10 years ago. We were at our friends Laura and Bethany's apartment, and we were just joking around, as we often did. And we thought, hey, wouldn't it be funny if Chris Kirkpatrick from NSYNC had a Christmas musical about him called Chris Kirkpatrickmas? And it really just should have ended there. But instead, Allison and I, we locked eyes across the room, and it was kind of this I refer to it as a death glare, although the intentions were purer than that. And we knew we had to at least start it. So we started writing songs in our apartment. We were roommates at the time in Los Angeles. And we would keep coming back together to write it. It kind of became an obsession on its own. It's been through so many rewrites, so many revisions, so many breaking it down and building it up again from the bottom. The songs kept coming, and the story kept evolving in ways that made us laugh. And I think we just kept trying to make each other laugh, honestly. And that's why we kept doing it.
Yeah, the great thing about working with Valen is that we do have very similar senses of humor, but we also have, we have very different approaches and very different backgrounds and skill sets. Like the music that she is able to hear in her head and then like put out of her head into the world. I don't even know how anyone does that. It seems like witchcraft to me, but I wish I had that power, but I don't. And then I sometimes I'll hear like conversations, which sounds a little loopy, but it's true. And together we are able to create something that I don't think either of us could have done on our own, or I know I couldn't have done it on my own for sure.
Same.
Yeah. And we would just, over the years, we would, it was a joke at first, but we were like, if we were going to do it, which we're not going to do because it's so silly, we would have a song about this and let's just write it. And then we would do that. And then eventually, 7 or 8 times later, we realized we had almost a whole show and we should probably just finish it. And then when
we wrote 4 more songs.
And during, when we were all kind of locked down in 2020, we had some time on our hands, and at that point Valen and I were no longer roommates, but we decided to meet up on Zoom and finish up the show, which we did. So Chris Kirkpatrickmas, a boy band Christmas musical, is set on Christmas Eve 2009, when Chris Kirkpatrick of the boy band NSYNC has a big decision to make, and he has a chance to make a Christmas wish, but he only has until the clock strikes midnight to make it. And we like to think of it as a combination of A Christmas Carol meets It's a Wonderful Life meets NSYNC.
Yep.
Alan, do you want to talk about the other characters?
I mean, the other characters are the other members of NSYNC, and with that ensemble feeling of a boy band, we kind of, I don't know how to explain it. They change into different ensemble characters. There's a very special angel character played by Allison, a throwback to one of the original 90s boy bands. New Kids on the Block. So there's something for everybody, we'd like to think, but especially millennials and Gen Xers.
Yeah, the nice thing about having the structure be these familiar stories like A Christmas Carol and It's a Wonderful Life is that even if you're coming in not knowing anything about NSYNC or you're not sure where the story's going, I think that people do feel like, oh, I kind of know, because we know the structure of A Christmas Carol, right? We know It's a Wonderful Life. It's going to be someone kind of revisiting key moments in their past and figuring out why they are where they are. So I think that gives people something to latch on to, and then we get to take them on this fantastical journey.
Yeah, the important main themes of this musical: identity, discovery, and what Allison says that I have always really liked is what happens on the other side of a dream come true. You want to add to that, Allie?
Yeah. I think that, as Valen said, the identity is a huge theme in this. And yeah, what happens on the other side of a dream come true? Because, we're all, everyone in the cast and, we working on it. This is from a very Los Angeles place. All of us are people who moved out here for, industry reasons to try to achieve these dreams, and with varying levels of success, but it never works out quite the way you picture it when you're, home in your bedroom in your parents' house. Right. And we have no idea what it was like to be in NSYNC and have that immense success and then have that kind of end, but also continue, and just be in that in between place, which is where our show takes place. But we have experienced in our own careers, a lot of ups and downs and near misses and near hits, so we play a lot with that, and we try to imagine and explore what it is like to kind of achieve that thing that you wanted, but maybe it didn't go exactly as planned.
And what would happen if you're Chris Kirkpatrick from NSYNC in 2009 and you get visited by a Christmas angel and he takes you on a journey about your life with NSYNC?
Yeah, I mean, and we have no idea that probably didn't happen. We made that up, but who's to say? But yeah, we just had a lot of fun with it, and overall, it's just supposed to be a joyous Christmas celebration. It's a feel good show. We want people to walk out of it feeling happy and positive and optimistic about the future.
We were both inspired by classic musical theater tropes and having fun with that as well. And I think what ended up happening because of that is an interesting blend of classic musical theater and totally just alternative comedy absurdness.
Yeah.
But it feels like it works because of the familiarity, as Allison was saying, of that musical theater ride. So we're not coming at you with anything too zany that it can't be absorbed like that.
Yeah, and Valen's background is more in the pop sphere, I guess you'd say. So the musical influences are really interesting. I think it's less like traditional musical theater and more into that that boy band world at times. And Valen is really able to do all of those styles, so we get to use all of those styles in the show, which is really cool.
What I want the audience to get out of this very special Christmas musical is like a different perspective, I think, on what it means to be not just an artist, but somebody with a dream, and the full story of what that dream is. Because oftentimes, I think the story ends at when the dream comes true, instead of the very real aftermath of what that means to assign value of your life to this thing that represents success. So I think that there's something in that, but also I would just love people to have a good time. Yeah. It's a fun ride. Every time we get on it, those themes are in there, but you wouldn't know it to begin with. We don't want the audience to feel like there's any responsibility of getting anything bigger out of the show than just the fact that it is absurd. So first and foremost, laughing. Yes. And laughing and having fun with the songs and the ride. It's a roller coaster.
Yeah, I mean, I think Valentina said that beautifully. We just want people to have fun. We want people to maybe learn a little bit about NSYNC and give Chris Kirkpatrick the respect and admiration that he is due, because he did start that band. And some people, it seems like that information was like not widely known for a long time because he wasn't the breakout star, that Justin Timberlake became, for example. But Chris Kirkpatrick is the reason that band existed. And he is just a very impressive person, and we respect him greatly, and we hope that everyone else does too.
Part of the original idea, and this was always our motive for doing the show as well, is no one has told this story about Chris before. Yeah. And it felt like the more research we did, accidental at first, but then became an obsession, especially for Allison. Allison, it became really important for her, and then for me, for it to be historically accurate, and it is.
Yeah, so, we've taken some liberties, like the fact that it's set in Los Angeles at this particular time, and all of the guys are there. Like that's not probably how it was actually going on, but the events of NSYNC's history that we talk about, and a lot of little references along the way. There's a lot there. There's an iceberg underneath of kind of deep cuts for the people who do know the NSYNC history. And for people who don't, it does guide you really, I think, really smoothly along their history.
The facts of what happened, and particularly with Chris's story, is so interesting on its own. Mm-hmm. We probably didn't need to add all the Christmas stuff to it for it to be an interesting story, but it is a fun twist, I'd say.
Yeah.
Well, we can make a formal invitation right now. NSYNC, if you are listening to this, you are invited. We have reserved seats for you every night. Also, we do know that they know of it. Chris's manager came to our opening night over the summer when we were doing Fringe. Mm-hmm. And she was very supportive. She did ask why we did this.
Fair question.
Yes, but was very, how do you say it? I think that she loved it.
Yeah, I think, I think she appreciated it because it's true, and it's positive, and it's as Valen said, people aren't talking about this story, and it's worth talking about. And we did, we let them know that we were doing the show again, and they were very supportive of that as well. So yeah, we would love for everyone to come see the show. Anyone who wants to, just, email us.
And in our long-term dreams, we would love for them to play these parts, or maybe play each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe Justin can play Chris and Chris can play Justin and really switch it up.
Be exciting.
Who knows?
Anything can happen.
I think it really does feel like a ride when you're performing it. So I think that, the thing that I look forward to the most is having fun and having that back and forth with the audience, because it's a relationship, they're trusting you to take care of them through this story, and they're letting you know that it's working through claps and laughs. And that give and take. I come from the music world, and a lot of my artist music is quite serious, I would say. It's been in a lot of dramatic TV and film type things. So being able to do a comedy has been so refreshing for that reason, to be able to have that relationship and that back and forth with the audience. I don't typically get to sing songs where people laugh. So it's been really exciting for me and really stimulating. And that's what I look forward to.
Yeah. For me, it's hard to separate writing from the performance of it, because I do, when the audience laughs at a line, the writer part of my brain is just like, check, but at the same time, I think as an actor, I feel the best when the show goes by so quickly and I don't even know, there are these moments where you're so invested in it and you're so present that like you kind of lose the awareness of the fact that you're crouched on this hardwood stage in the middle of West Hollywood and you're just having this experience, and that it's such a fun it doesn't always happen, but when you manage to get on that roller coaster and it goes and you're with it and you're just in it, and at the end of it you're like, I don't even know what just happened, but like, yeah, that feeling as an actor is that's what I love. And it can be challenging to, wear so many hats because there's not as much time to just to focus on the acting part of it, which is, probably the most fun part. But I really do appreciate that. Like there are times when I'm on stage with Valen and we're having this moment and it just like, all of a sudden we're like, yeah, we're here and we're doing this thing that we said we were going to do. And I'm just so proud and honored that we get to do it.
It can be really trippy at times because, we started writing this 10 years ago. And when we were writing it, we would imagine as we were writing it, what it would kind of feel like to be on stage doing, you imagine the story with that in mind.
Yeah.
And there are times where I'm on stage with Allison and we're doing a scene together as Chris and Marky Mark. And it's just the way that we imagined it. But it's real life.
Yeah.
And that is weird, but I'm here for it. But there will be these little moments. I felt it last night, Allison. I don't know if you did when we were on our last scene together, where we were wrapping things up, and I was just like I had this moment. I was like, yeah, there's my best friend. Like we did it. We're on stage. That's our last scene. We did it.
We did it.
So there's something incredibly fulfilling and satisfying about seeing what we're made of with this project.
Yeah.
You should attend even if you know nothing about NSYNC, but you should especially attend if you do. The It's a Wonderful Life and A Christmas Carol thing really we have found works for any age, especially like older than the typical NSYNC fan.
Yeah.
You should see the show if you want to laugh. Like we've had a hard couple of years as like a species, this is a good time, I think, to escape. And I am so proud that our show is able to do that for people. It seems, at least for us, like we're having so much fun doing it that it's been very cathartic.
Yeah.
I want as many people to see me in red camo pants as possible.
I think our goals for the musical, we have so many. We're just starting out and we don't really know how it's going to go or where it's going to go. There's a version of it where we we do the show in LA at Christmas every year, which would be super fun. There's a version of it where, we bring it to Chicago or New York and do it there. There's a version where we go to Edinburgh and we end up doing it in London, which would be, I would die. That would be amazing. But we just don't know yet. We're just starting out. We're so open to whatever possibilities we get with it. We just, as Valen said, we want as many people as possible to come see it and to enjoy it. And yeah, we'll take this ride wherever it goes.
Yeah. Sharing it is really, now that it's done, and because we, for so long couldn't show people this because it wasn't done.
Yeah.
But we had been working on it so long. We had so many fragments of it, and it didn't really make sense out of context as much as we would have liked it to other people. So it's just really nice also to be able to finally pull back the curtain and be like, that thing that we've been
the thing we've been talking about for 10 years.
I've had some friends come to the show and they were like, afterwards, they were very complimentary, and they were saying things like, Valen played me demos like 8 years ago, and I was like, what is going on? But just not believing that we were actually continuing to work on this, but they were very pleased with the end result, and happy that we did. It's been fun to show people what the absurdity turned into.
Yes, exactly. I think Chris Kirkpatrickmas would be a great annual LA show. We feel as though, because it is, there's a lot in it that deals with dreams and frustrated dreams, and also, achieving that success and trying to figure out who you are if you achieve your dreams or if you don't, and how much of your identity is wrapped up in what you thought your life would be versus what it is. I think that is, oh gosh, we all get that, right? LA is full of that. And we really explore it and celebrate it in our show. And I do think that audiences here in Los Angeles will continue to respond to that. And it's super fun. I think that
it takes place here. It takes place, like our opening Village song. It takes place in a Los Angeles Starbucks on Hollywood and Vine, which I understand
closed, very recently.
But it was open in 2009.
Yeah, it's the one right across from the Pantages, which is no longer there. But yeah, it's just, I think that also because it's set in 2009 and the past, there's not really a danger of it getting dated because it's already dated on purpose, so I think that it will continue to be relevant in the same way that we want it to, unless of course, something very different happens within sync and we need to update the script to address it. We'll see.
And I think no matter where the show goes, it will always have its first home and a home in Los Angeles because it takes place here, because it was born here, because, for so many reasons, was very inspired by the industry life here, even though I think it is relatable beyond that specific pathway. But it will always be a Los Angeles born and bred musical.
Yeah.
I'm Valen Shore. And you should come see this musical. We're at Chris Kirkpatrickmas Musical on Instagram, and you can find our websites and ticket links at www.chriskirkpatrickmas.com, or you can just Google Chris Kirkpatrickmas or try, and I think it will come up now.
I'm Allison Zada, and I, like Valen, would love for you to come see Chris Kirkpatrick. We would love to see you there. It's super fun, and we'd love for you to follow along with the show and see where we go next, because maybe we'll be back. Maybe we'll be in Scotland. Who knows? Only one way to find out. Follow us. That's the way.